Alrighty.
We're here.
Welcome to the Brutally Honest Podcast with Harrison Barron. And today I'm joined by my very good friend, Anthony Perini.
Pasini, it's fine.
Pasini.
No, it's fine. I get Panini, Pasini, Piccinini, all the different ones. It's fine. It's Italian, so.
That's so funny. So we were just talking about what you had done music for a good chunk of your life, and you have migrated to podcasting now, and now you're getting a little bit back into music, right?
Well, yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like I never stopped playing music, but it's just kind of when I took a step back from touring to kind of work full time back home, I kind of needed something to supplement that like constant practicing, and I really wasn't playing any other I was not really playing in any other bands or doing anything once I left my band that I was touring with. So I picked up podcasting as a way to kind of kill time and get over the fact that I really wasn't touring that much and getting used to being home. And it turned into this whole thing where like I fell in the world of podcast editing, YouTube editing, stuff like for other artists, or not just myself but other people as well.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. And I know you had said that it was just kind of like the say yes, no matter what it is. Just say yes. And I definitely am a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
And part of this, because my old show, we had ended, and now the new show, I'm kind of trying to feel what I got to do and learn, and now that it's one person, I have to be super particular in who I have, because it's not two personalities and then a guest, where if we do have a guest who doesn't talk so much, we can kind of not so much carry it, but it's two people talking no matter what. Where now I have to be more selective. I'm trying to produce better quality stuff. I'm trying to get on YouTube. I actually just started the YouTube. Yeah. I'm still messing around with that. So, but it's just a constant learning curve.
You're your own boss. That's what you get. You'll only get as much out of it as what you put in. I know it sounds very like people say that all the time, but you're your own boss. You gotta, like when I first started, when I started one in like 2014, that's when I left my old band. And basically I was like, I'm going to do a show every week or two a week. And then my issue was I wanted to do so much at once. And then I just let it all fall through. And I was like, I can't handle all this. And then once I started scaling it back to like, what am I good at? And am I good at scheduling things? Am I good at like having a guest come in and like, okay, I'm going to ask them this, that, and this, that, and this.
Yeah.
Or am I good at just on the spot and then maybe getting to my point? You as everything, you just grow into what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And that's when I sent you that email. I was like, this is what I used to do, but now this is what I do now. Like, you're always changing. So I think you being your own boss, you might feel like, I like this more. I'm doing this, and it's less scheduling. You don't rely on someone else. So I could see why you're probably enjoying doing your own thing like this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There's definitely going to be a time too where I will probably end up doing maybe a couple shows that are just me.
Yeah,
absolutely. Basically, just talking to whomever's listening about either life lessons I've learned or skills I've gotten or whatever it may be, and I'm just trying to progress, and I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for the new medium of podcasting because I don't have time to sit there and watch a billion YouTube videos of how to do this or how to do this. Or I've learned so much information just from listening to other people talk, and it's so nice because it's not like you're sitting at the bar drinking and you're just like, oh, how was work today? Oh, it was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's so different because you're learning something. You're having an intellectual conversation with it.
Yeah, no, I that's why I kind of fell in love with it with podcasting, because when I was in a couple bands. The more notable band I was in was a band called Giants at Large, and they're still around. I left the band in 2013, late 2013, and around that time, for about 10 years, I listened to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was or maybe around like 2007, maybe 2008, earlier days, where it really wasn't it was podcast, but it wasn't really the full media. And when I was touring, doing long drives, after listening to your favorite records or something, it got really tiring, and you really, radio shows, you can't really, either in, they're out, you don't know what city you're in, and podcasting was a way for me to kill time on runs when I was away, long drives, everything. And then when I came home, that kind of just felt natural to me. And as you were saying, how you don't have time to go on YouTube and look for equipment, equipment for me was kind of just like, I have all this stuff from being in a band. What can I do with what I have? Yeah. But my focus is more on like, what's it going to be about? And I'm not saying anything I've done in podcasting has been this huge thing, but I think the hardest thing is you could get the best mics in the world, but if your conversations are not good, who's going to listen?
Yep.
But
exactly
like the main thing, like it's funny, you get stuff that you know how to work it, you make it sound good, and then you have great conversations, and that, that's where kind of like podcasting is fun. You kind of, that's why I think it's gonna just, people think it's just gonna die off. I think it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I do too. It's definitely the new way of media. I think because I had a conversation and I hate to say, but I kind of forget who it was exactly. But we've kind of discussed that we're almost surprised. It was my buddy Michael, but we were kind of surprised that with the radio still around.
Yeah,
I agree with him. I'm kind of blown away at the fact that how is it still around? Like, I couldn't even tell you. I listen to the radio if I'm just going on too short of a drive that I don't have a chance to plug my phone in.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
Now they're getting podcasts to go on, like I think to go on some radio stations. I listened to one of my favorite talk radio shows growing up was I always liked, Howard Stern's like, is your first shock jock thing you listened to as a kid. Like I'm 28, so when I was a kid, when like 96, like everyone, I think that's when Private Parts came out. That was like Howard Stern was the biggest thing. But as I grew up, I kind of fell into Opie and Anthony and Sam Roberts, Jim Norton. I think the best show right now, talk show on the radio, is Jim Norton and Sam Roberts, and they're on Sirius XM. I think satellite radio, being subscribed to cars, computers, is kind of the reason why radio might still be like, profitable, because that's a subscription service. But those guys even know that everyone that hosts a radio show has a podcast. They see that there's more jobs in broadcasting with it now. It kind of works together now. And I'm curious to see how that relationship works in the future. Is there always going to be, I feel radio is always going to be around, but what's going to be like at the forefront? Is it going to be the radio digital shows at Sirius, or is it going to be tape things that you're going to be in your car that is just automatically you're going to go to on demand and listen to it? But I think something is still cool with live shows being the fact that they're live and on the radio. I think it's just that the fact that all cars have it, everyone has a radio at their job. Yeah. Not everyone has like YouTube to go hit the live show, but until everyone's got hear the live show like Joe Rogan does live streams, I get my phone vibrates and I click it and I watch it. Yeah.
And then you can watch it right there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a crazy thing, and that's ideally where I would like to move to, where hopefully I can build up a fan base on YouTube, and I love that when as soon as you publish a podcast, everybody gets a notification about it and they can all listen to it, and I get feedback the next day.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's so rewarding, and it's definitely it's a crazy medium. Mm-hmm. It's a crazy medium because a lot of the times you're not even watching. Like I barely ever watch like the Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah. It's too long for me to sit there. Exactly. If I'm going to sit there for that long, I'd rather watch a movie. Mm-hmm. And nothing against him, but I don't watch movies. And if I'm going to sit down in one spot and I'm not going to be in my car, I'd like to. If I'm going to spend that much time, I'd like to watch a movie. Mm-hmm. But definitely that whole audio, and you get tired of the records, and it makes your daily activities just so much better when you can have that conversation. You're hearing something. It's not just, oh, I've listened to this record 35 times. I've listened to. I just bought the newest song and I already overplayed it in the first 20 minutes because I have immediate access to it, and I don't have to wait for the radio to play it 30 times an hour.
Yeah. No, I agree with that so much, because that's what's so cool with the whole joint of podcasting video, and podcasting audio. Because like exactly Joe Rogan, like if I'm at work, I'll like turn on my YouTube and like I can't have the video playing, like I can't be watching the video, but I could just turn off the video and listen to audio, and time goes by. His podcasts are like 2.5, 3 hours, but it's there's some people I feel like if someone could do one that long, it's him, because he's somebody that has so much vast knowledge in like MMA, science, like technology.
And it's very well read.
And he's just very good at talking, but I don't think like everybody could do that. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are very good at having 30-minute podcasts. Like I wish I could have as good a 30-minute podcast as somebody, like a short one. I feel it's just as hard to come up with a good short one as a good long one. That's what we got to kind of figure out. And I feel like a lot of old radio guys that get into podcasting are not good at it because they don't understand. They don't have they don't have a full producer or whatever. But there's other guys that are great at it. You know, that's why I think it's such a unique thing.
No, it definitely is, and it's definitely a skill that you acquire, especially when you're doing that. The sitting down with somebody and you're having an actual conversation where it's not like I'm just sitting there talking to the microphone. There's so much more. There's so much more thought, and it's not like, oh, let me just prep this 10-minute show. All right, today I'm going to talk about technology. All right, what's the newest, latest, and greatest? Done.
Yeah.
That's 10 minutes, and you don't have to get that intricate, but there's definitely times when you're sitting in, and this usually goes for about an hour and a half, give or take a little bit, but when you're sitting down for that length of time and you have to talk to somebody for that length of time, it's definitely a more strategic conversation. It's kind of like playing chess, but nobody's winning.
Exactly. I agree.
It's a very skilled game of, all right, I'm going to put this pawn here. Now you retaliate with whatever, and either we'll butt heads and have a great conversation that way, or you'll agree, back me up, and we'll just move on to the next play. There's
a lot of people that are like podcasts that are successful that do the opposite of what you're saying, that just a couple guys just turn on the mics and they just drunk and like they could talk about whatever, but it's still the same process of going back and forth. And there's podcasts of those where guys are just at each other's throats fighting, like, you know, that's with all conversation. But I think it's like I feel like podcast helps other medias. Like I think for pro wrestling and MMA, podcasting is huge. It's huge for it. And I feel like I subscribe to a couple, like not just on YouTube, but like I pay money for a couple, like not really anymore. I used to pay for like a wrestling one every month. And that's it's way you get like select information, but there's just so many different varieties. And like, you never know who's going to be really good at it. Like, you know, a celebrity that does it, you never know who's going to be great at it. You never know who's going to be very successful. That's why I don't think like everyone will be successful at it, but the people that are the ones that just every day, boom, 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 posting. Like it's a lot of work. It's not just like, great, all you got to do is record. It's like, no, I got to wake up and make sure, how did that episode do last week? Okay, let me prep this week's show. Do I have anybody this week? Did I book this person in advance? Did I not? It's like, it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, even when people say like, oh, it's so cool, it must be so easy. I'm like, the sitting down talking part is the easiest thing in the world. It's the, all right, did I schedule somebody? Are they actually going to show up? Did an event come up? If something did come up, do I have a backup plan?
Yeah.
Because, all right, I'm going to do my absolute best to release a show every week, and obviously life comes about, and I do a million other things too. But it's like, all right, if they do flake, who's coming in? Or can I get somebody at last minute? Or if they flake on a Monday, great. At least I have Tuesday through Friday to make it up, and Saturday and Sunday, but Saturdays and Sundays are tough for people. It's family day, whatever it is. And then I guess when you produce your one-person show, it's like, all right, you're right. How did that episode do? I have to read my comments. What could I improve on? What do I have to change? Where this, yes, I do definitely take into consideration everything that everybody tells me about, hey, I like this, or I didn't like this, or whatever it is. But I'm meeting this person. Like I just met you the other day, and now we're already sitting in a podcast, which is great.
Yeah, it's funny because we met at Giorgio's Coffee,
greatest coffee in the world.
It's amazing, and in Farmingdale, and I heard you were saying, you were talking about the podcast. Oh, I have my podcast, and when I go in there, I talked. They ask me sometimes, "How's your podcast doing?" So when I said that, I'm like, and I went to outside, like, I do one too, blah blah blah. Yeah. But I also know Giorgio through doing. I worked for another coffee. I still kind of do. I do a little small batch roasting for a company called Sailaway Coffee.
Oh, and, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's more of like it's more of like it's more of a hobby, or when they need something, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But like they have their whole operation, and I kind of like, when they first started out, I kind of did a lot of farmers markets. As I said, it's small batch stuff, but they're crushing it right now. They're killing it.
Yeah, Sailaway is killing it.
Yeah, they're very. But we all, because of that, we all have good relationship with Giorgio. I go to a lot of coffee shops on Long Island, but since I'm there all the time, I kind of have a good relationship with them. And so when I saw you say that, I'm like, oh, I do a podcast as well, because I'm in and out there all the time as well.
Now, what's the name of your podcast that you're doing right now?
I've been slacking, and I'm like lecturing everyone about how you should stay on top of it. I have a podcast called Pasini and Friends, which I started about a year ago, and then I also kind of not really much anymore, just because of work, a lot of things. I kind of I jump on in and out of the show called Runnin' Radio, where it's my friend Sean and my friend Ryan. It's a wrestling one, and a company called Quickcast, which I talked about before, which has their own bus. And they kind of they're like, it's like a bus in Amityville, which is like, when I say it's a bus, it's not creepy. It's like a high tech, like state of the art bus, but they have people come in and do their own shows.
So they sit right in the bus.
They sit in the bus. You're in the bus, and there's like a big table, a green screen behind you with all this high tech gear. And,
oh shit!
And you could do your own podcast. And Runnin' Radio works very close with them. I started hosting with them when they started on their last string of audio shows. Okay. I believe you could just go to Runnin' Radio on Facebook, but they do it every week, and I get out kind of late, so I'm not consistent with it. I wish I could be, but the time I get out of work, I really can't work with their schedules. But they do it every week, and they should be getting more views than they do. But they're great guys, and I pop in there, here to there, and then I do a lot of music ones. Whenever someone asks me to come on, I'll do one. And I do a lot of podcast editing, which I told you, which is kind of like the reason why once I get out of work at 6, I'm at my house until till I go to sleep, because I'm editing someone's like talk from a conference, like boring stuff, like a conference about like medication in Texas. And then, but as we said before, everyone's doing podcasts. Every company has a podcast, but I learned things. I'm listening to like cancer research, and I'm like, oh, this is super interesting. And I'm getting paid to edit it. And I'm learning at the same time. Yeah. But my personal podcast is called Pasini and Friends. It's on SoundCloud. I'm kind of in the process of doing a revamp where I have guests booked coming on. I got a couple of my couple bands coming into town in a couple of weeks. Probably gonna go to the venue early and set up my little travel station and talk to them. But hopefully that's my goal by the end of summer, is to have like a week to week. Every week I want to have a show, but something's got to free up a little bit first.
It's definitely even one show a week. It's rough, and people are like, oh, it's only one show a week. It's only an hour and a half. But I'm like, all right, it's only an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, but there's still setup, there's post-processing, there's there's the upload, then there's all right, I have to confirm that I made sure I got it to every social media outlet I can to try to self-promote, and then it's the follow-up the next day or 2 days and see what the response is of when you're posting. How many views did I get in the first 24 hours? How many views did I get in the second 24 hours? And then by the time you're all said and done, it's 4 or 5 hours, and then it's all right. Now that I did this episode, you constantly looking for that next guest and qualifying and disqualifying people. Like when I met you, I was like, oh, I know you're going to be a good guest. You've done podcasts before. You know how to talk. And but I've definitely seen people that are like, oh, you have a podcast, I'd love to be a guest. And I'm like, I'd love to have you as a guest, and you have to be like honest with them. I don't think I could do an hour and a half with you on the mic. And or either that, or I've also had other people where they sit down and they're all amped up to do the podcast, and they are great talkers, and as soon as they sit down, they get mic fright.
Exactly.
And they're just it's like pulling teeth. I'm like, dude, we just had a great conversation 10 minutes ago outside the building. Yeah, and we're all fired up, and we can't wait to sit down. As soon as I hit that record button and the microphone's in front of your mouth, which I don't even realize most of the time.
Yeah, after a while you get used to it, and that's once again going with like not just having like the right. I agree with you having the right guests, but also I've done shows before where when I was I sent you that old Bandcamp one. It was called Hoverboard, and that's very dated, even though it's only 3 years ago. Because Hoverboard was a Back to the Future reference, and now I get spammed from like companies that saw, because that actually got some really good a lot of not revenue, but got a lot of plays on certain episodes. Like I guess Bandcamp contacts me all the time to do outdoor sport things. And like, why you guys always contact me to do outdoor sports stuff? I'm like, well, it's hoverboard. I'm like, oh no, it's a Back to the Future reference. This is not a podcast about hoverboards like the toy. So, but I've done episodes on that channel exactly where I've thought, oh, this guest is going to be amazing, and it's bombs. It's terrible. And then like I'll like ask my friend. There's one episode that stands out in my mind. I think it was like September of 2015. I had my friend Kevin. His name is Kevin Burke, and he's right now I think he's in his early 20s. I took him out on my old band Giants at Large. He took us his old band went on tour with us when he was only 16 years old. And
Wow.
I was like 23 at the time, and he was the youngest kid on the tour. It was like a week and a half, but that band, who all those guys in that band are extremely successful in other bands now, and a couple of them are not doing much, but my drummer filled in for them at the time. So we were really close to these guys. And 2015, they all had like couple different projects going on. And I had Kevin come in because he's got a solo project. I believe he was opening up for somebody at the Paramount. And it was a last minute thing. I asked him like a week before, like, hey, I had a block open. Do you want to come over and we could talk, come to my house and we sit down. And then the singer of his old band that we were on tour with, Chris, my friend Chris Regan, who is also killing it in music and doing guitar teching, playing bass. He fills in for this band called 4 Year Strong every once in a while. I
feel like I've heard of that.
They're like a bigger pop punk act that's
Yeah.
doing a 10-year, and he's guitar teching for them too. So they came on. It was last minute. I didn't know he was coming, and I wasn't trying to reminisce about old times on tour, but it was just like. I didn't think much of it. I knew it was kind of, I wanted to give Kevin a little promotion. Maybe it will give me a little bump too if he promotes his show. His album is coming out. So it was like a win-win thing. It was like, yeah, great. And it ended up being, we talked about his music for a second, and then it was just, he was so good and Chris was so good. And we talked about like how their band disbanded, like how they had no issues between them, but they started opening up about like how he was feeling at one time, and how it was just a really cool it was a cool thing to do, the three of us. And that was like the last one I did on that site, and that one sticks out to me of one where I knew it was going to be okay. I knew it was going to be, we're going to get our point across, but I didn't think it was going to be this amazing conversation that we had.
Yeah.
But then there's ones, as I said before, where I think it's going to be, oh, this is going to be cake, and you're like,
Yeah.
So how was your past tour? It was good. Okay.
Yeah. What else is there? And
And you never know who's gonna give you a good conversation, who's not, who you're gonna have to pry, and maybe I won't call this person to come do it again. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely like a crazy little science, and the other thing too I've realized is, I mean, once the people that have that like get mic fright get over it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
It's
Like
done.
sometimes it takes like one episode or 15 to 20. Like there's been a lot of times where I was so ready to just be like, all right, stop, delete, let's restart.
Yeah.
Because now you've gotten over that hump.
Yeah.
And knowing that, oh my God, Harrison could just throw this out. Like it's not like I don't need to publish anything.
Yeah, you don't have to do
yeah,
it.
I mean, would I love to? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if somebody says something that is going to get them in trouble or is whatever it is, I'm not going to go out there and just be like, hey, so and so said this horrible thing and everybody should go hate on him. Like, no, that's fucked up. I'm not trying to do that. So it's definitely a process of making sure that everybody that's on here is completely comfortable with it, and they know where the boundaries are, and they kind of, you set your own boundaries.
Yeah, I'm it's funny because when I first started, I always thought like everything's got to be perfect. Like if someone says something that's kind of crazy, or like, you know, there's like a weird mic sound, or like, you know, somebody stopped at their phone ring, I'm like, I got to edit this out, blah, blah, blah. And then towards the end of it, like if I do this one on that at Pasini and Friends one called Monsters Blood, which is like three of my friends. It's mostly about horror movie review. Very standard. I made a really cool intro for it, which I'm still proud of to this day. But basically it's my friend kind of runs it, I produce it, and I'm part of it. But it's his show. But so he controls it. Like he starts it off, and the first couple times we did it, I purposely went like he would start like, this is the Monster Blood podcast, and my name's, I'm going to start over. And I go like, no, I don't edit. I was like, nope, keep it going. Don't worry about it. Because like as I edit podcasts, but I hate editing like little things. I think that's natural. I think it's like, you know,
you're human. It's not going to be perfect the first day.
It's, and after a while, I just got more normalcy with like cracking little side jokes. And like we did one about, I think it was, we did one about The Hills Have Eyes, I think it was. And if you listen to that, we're talking about The Hills Have Eyes for like 5 minutes, and then other horror movies, or like, then we talked about wrestling. And it's like, that's cool too. I think like, you know, that's natural. I don't like just doing silly little like, let's do it again. Like I hate how that intro sound like, oh really? Like you want to repeat something and make it sound so script. Like, no, just like, hey, how you doing? This is
Because
my podcast.
it's not a script. It's not a script at all.
And he's very good at it too. Like, he's very good at it.
That's so funny. Yeah. One of the last guys I had on here, this guy Cheeto, and he was like, "Oh, I want to do the closer. I want to do the closer." I was like, "All right, you can do the closer." And he said like the name of the old show, and the old show was We're Live with Cam and Harry, and it was so funny. And he's like, and this is We're Live with Cam, and I was like, Cheeto, wrong show. And he's like, oh, all right, let me retry. And I think he messed up twice in a row.
So your old show is Live with Cam and Harry?
We're Live with Cam and Harry, yeah.
And it was on SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play.
So I don't want to touch any boundaries, but so you don't work with Cam anymore?
No. We parted ways on good terms.
On good terms? Okay, cool.
He was no bad blood. He just wasn't. He didn't have the time commitment, and it was perfectly understandable. It is. And when people like. Once again, people say, "Oh, it's only an hour and a half."
Yeah,
well, not really, because you got to leave whatever you're doing. You got to figure out that block of the day. It's not like oh, at some point today I have to go drop my clothes off at the dry cleaners.
Yeah,
it's you have to make sure that you have a dedicated 4, 8, 6 hours to do this. You got to record post production the whole nine again. So it's not that short of a process. And it's not even a 15-minute show or a half-hour show where you're like, all right, I could come home or I could bang this thing out in 5 minutes or in a half hour.
You got to make the time, and I agree with you. And it's like the people that have all the time, like I get jealous of people that have so much time and don't do something like this. And one of my favorite inspirations, and it is one of my best friends. Like when I say inspirations, like you see, there's people you look up to, but there's like work ethic that I look like I wish I had the time or like whatever. My friend Bob Wolf, as I said before, has a TV show on YouTube. I call it a TV show, but it's like him and his brother. One day he talks about games. The other day this is like the tagline. One day I talk about games. My brother talks about comics, and one day we do a show together. And I think I forgot how many subscribers they have now. I think I want to say like at least 30,000 subscribers. Like for like they've been doing it for 2 years. And he worked for a couple different like design companies, and he got a job at Shoddycast, which is another YouTube based company. He was able to quit his job, and he focuses now on the Wolf Den and Shoddycast. And for me, even though he's my friend, one of my best friends, I that's like inspiring to me. And I think that's like, so if I get home from work and I'm sitting on the couch watching like an MMA replay or like WWE or like any wrestling, I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? I'm gonna go. Like I see on my phone like Wolf Den posted 2 episodes. I didn't post any. I'm gonna go do something. So it's inspiring to me. So sometimes I look at things like that, you gotta like. That's the difference between the people that stay with it and don't. He's able to leave his job that he was working, going to the city, and now he's home. One day he works on Shoddycast, or 6 days he works on Shoddycast, and then at night after that he works on Wolf Den. That's all he's got to do. Not that's all he's got to do, but he's got all the time to make it the best show he is. I went to IKEA with him the other day to pick up something for his set. He has a set. He's So
that's definitely it's definitely pretty cool when people see this room, and this room still has a ways to go.
No, I walked in, my jaw dropped. Like, you have a room where your stuff is.
Yeah.
It's hooked up.
It's so funny because like I was doing it out of my bedroom back in the day, and I have a very large bedroom, so it was kind of basically a studio apartment for the most part. And the audio quality was pretty good. But and then I moved here, and then it started out as just this room. It wasn't anything else. It was just the room, nothing on the walls. There were still boxes in this room.
Yeah.
I think we sat on metal chairs the first show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was just, not that it's bad, but it was just like, all right, now we have these chairs, and there's still ways to come, but now I have foam up. Now there's actual decor on the walls. So
it's a change,
Yeah, it's definitely a change, and it's definitely come a long way from where and now that I have my own spot, it's so much nicer when I could tell somebody, oh, here's the address, come through when we'll bang out a show.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, oh, here's my house number. Not that I care about giving out my house number, but it was like, all right, well, here's my family. All right, let's go up to my room. All right, let's do it out of my room. And it was above the garage, and it was almost separate from the house, but it was still like, this is my house. Like, it's not like
a spot.
Yeah,
where
it's not a
you-
spot.
An address. Yeah, I get it.
And then
I do mine out of my house. I
Yeah.
understand how that is. Like I got to go home. I got to make sure my dog loves people, so I have to put her upstairs. And like halfway through the show, you hear like scratches, and I don't like to stop, and I don't like to like stop when I'm in a conversation. So that's why I was saying when I walked in, like, okay, you have your own spot. This is so cool.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
I'm super fortunate. I'm super
very
fortunate.
lucky.
Yeah, the nerds I care, and everybody that's listening knows that I work for the company. Was definitely gracious enough to give me a room.
Yeah,
and,
this is great.
And we're actually going to be. There's a lot of talk about possibly starting a Nerds cast or something of that nature.
That's awesome.
And I have my other buddy John Keel, who was on here, is talking about maybe doing something in the room as well.
Yeah, cool.
So it's going to be super utilized, and I'm super excited because it'll just constantly be adding and adding and adding onto the room.
More people to stay on top of you to do it, and, or if you happen with other projects.
Yeah, the only thing I am slightly afraid of is doing it to the point where it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
That's like, because this is fun. I love this.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't want it to be like, oh, Harrison, I need you to sit here and monitor the audio every single day. It's like, oh, okay.
No.
Or I don't mind even if I was getting paid for it, but I don't want it to be to the point where it's like, all right, especially if I don't even want to, if I don't like the show, and then it's like, all right, I got to sit through this and bang out the show, and I don't do editing yet. I'll probably pick your brain about afterwards.
Oh yeah,
but it's just that's my only fear is just if I do it so much that it's not like I don't look forward to my show because I'm like, oh my god, I did 6 podcasts this week that I had to sit through, and it wasn't when I'm driving to wherever I'm going or whatever. It's I have to sit here and listen and do that. So
yeah. So the Nerds That Care facility. You were explaining to me what you guys do, but are you guys like for like the nerd podcast you were talking about? Is it like gonna be like different things nerds like what's your nerd thing you like or like typical nerd? Like,
so right now, like it'll probably be like all tech. It'll be like more technology. Yeah. It'll be very technology heavy, but it'll be like right now the biggest thing is hackers actually have a ransom for iTunes.
Okay.
If you want water, it's right there.
I'm
it's
good.
right there.
Thank
you sure?
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect.
Where hackers have a ransom for not iTunes, for Apple, and they want to get paid, or they're going to wipe everybody's iPhone in the country, all like a couple million phones they have access to their iCloud accounts. So Apple's in a predicament of first of all, we got hacked.
Yeah.
They have their information. It's kind of well known at this point. But do we pay them, or do we actually see if they're going to follow through and then just tell our clients, hey, back up your stuff because you have till April 7th to get that done. And
this is really going on right now?
This is literally like happening right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's like in the news, and I'm sure that's probably what it's going to be about. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all well and good, but I don't know if I'd want to make a show. I could make an hour and a half show about tech. I think it would be too drawn out. I think a 10, 15 minute, 20 minute clip of just tech kind of gets you in of all right, what's going on in the world, who came out with the coolest thing, like the S8 came out or got announced the other day. So stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny. You're saying you would do a 20-minute podcast about the actual hack, but I could probably talk about the movie Hackers for about 4 hours.
That's so funny.
So yeah, I'm basically like for me, like I don't know, like I'm, as you can see from some of the stuff I post, I'm more of like a movie, comic book, I guess you could say. Like I'm like into a lot of pop culture, wrestling. Like I'm all over the place. So that's like my nerdy type of thing. Yeah. So it's like. I guess you could use the word nerd for anything. Like I'm a nerd for this, but like basically like that's why if you look at like my old format, it was like I was trying to separate it, and I'm like, why am I trying to separate it? Just make it under one name, and I'll just put this show's about this. This show's about our UFC review. This show's about the Glory Kickboxing review. This one's about Rogue One. This one's about whatever, because I'm passionate about all of that stuff, and it kind of just goes all over.
It's so much more streamlined.
Yeah.
That was the nice part about this title, because I'm like, I don't want it to be, all right, it's going to be this. Yeah. Because I'm like, there's no way that I could talk an hour and a half every single week to somebody new. Like, it's going to get super repetitive at a point where if I'm like, all right, let's name it. And I actually asked a couple guys in my fraternity. I was like, hey, I need a name. And I had thrown around a bunch of names. And I was like, oh, maybe not the Knowledgeless Podcast. So whatever. Oh, welcome to the Knowledgeless Podcast. Whatever. We're trying to learn something new every day. And somebody came up with the name, the Brutally Honest Podcast. I was like, oh, I really like that.
I'm surprised that wasn't it's not taken. That's like no one had that.
There's a couple people that kind of like have it, but
don't utilize it.
Exactly.
So it's yours.
Yeah. So there's no. I now own the domain to it, but it was like somebody on SoundCloud already had like the Brutally Honest Podcast, and there's one that's like Brutally Honest Radio. So when you search Brutal or Brutally Honest, they come up first because they have more subs than I do, I'm sure. But hopefully I'll get to a point where they'll be and the biggest thing that drives me nuts is they haven't put out a show in over like a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just take it down. Like it's not like, and I see where they're coming from. They want to keep it up, but I'm like, you're not doing it anymore.
I agree. I understand what you mean.
Give it a period of time, maybe 6 months, and drop. Like I'm gonna hold the last couple episodes of the We're Live with Cam and Harry up, and then I'll probably end up taking those down at some point. Maybe like the early part of summer. I'll leave it up for 6 months, and then at that point I'll take it down, and then it's no more. So but it's just, if you're gonna, don't steal the domain names and don't steal like the name of the show if you're not gonna do it. Yeah. Like there was one guy, he didn't even put a track, he just named it and took that URL for like on SoundCloud, and I was like, why? You haven't even posted anything. You've had it for. I see you've liked a million tracks, but you
don't do anything.
You've never done anything with it.
Yeah, but that, as long as it doesn't have a copyright on it, and as long as you're like you're knowledgeably not taking it, like you didn't say like, oh, it's a great name, I'm gonna take it. It's like, no, we both thought of the same name. I'm using it, and you don't have a copyright on it, and it doesn't matter. I named mine Pasini and Friends because I thought it was super easy. My friend Bob, the guy from the Wolf Den, and his brother came up with my logo, and it just says Pasini and Friends in yellow. And my friend Jerry texted me like, dude, you gotta change your name. Look at all these podcasts called Something and Friends, and they're all in yellow. I'm like, I don't care. I don't like great, they're bigger names than me. I'll worry about that if I need to worry about that. Yeah. But you don't. It's just about it's not really necessarily the idea, it's where the idea came from. I didn't see like, oh, like that, like Something and Friends. That sounds good. I'm just do Pasini and Friends. Like, no, I just said Pasini and Friends. That's fine because my friends come over and we talk about stuff. Yeah. And you probably went the Brutally Honest Podcast. Oh, that sounds cool. I'm gonna use it. It's different.
Yeah, I was like, all right, there's nobody that actually has us on iTunes. I'll take that. Like, because the old show we wanted to do originally was it was going to be called The Basic Podcast. Yeah. And we threw around the idea of like dozens and dozens of names, and and I was like, wow, I really like that one, The Basic Podcast. Like, this is super simple. It's two dudes trying to figure all this shit out. Yeah. And there was, somebody had taken a domain name. Somebody had taken, like, 2 or 3 people had taken like very similar names or the exact names of it on iTunes. And I'm like, what? Both people had like 2 shows each. Yeah. And they hadn't published in months.
Yeah, they just want the domain name, and if someone really likes it, they'll like, oh, sell it. But like,
I actually tried to reach out to them. I was like, oh, can I buy these domain names, and I'll be more than happy to just post it on iTunes. And they never got back to me. I was like, I was willing to pay for it.
They probably lost the email information. They probably haven't looked at anything in months or years.
More than likely.
Yeah, but I told you before. I'm not sure. Did we talk? I think we talked about it on the air already. The thing with the hoverboard thing. Was that on? Yeah, where they just contact me all the time about like, oh, do you want to do outdoor shows about equipment and stuff? I'm like, why are you contacting me? Oh, we want the hoverboard name. I'm like, it's not. I don't have the domain. It's just the Bandcamp. It just says. Just you could take it. I don't care. Like
you could take it.
Just take it. It's like it's a little like it's some people are afraid to like they just want the idea and they think people are going to pay a bunch of money and then nothing really comes out. Yeah, but it's a good idea. I think the Brutally Honest Podcast is a good name.
Oh, thanks. Cool. I also threw around the name of the Pineapple Podcast.
Pineapple Podcast.
I was like, all right, that's kind of like unique and it's kind of like fun. And
talk about pineapple, maybe.
None. It would have nothing to do with pineapples. So, I actually liked it because I was like, oh, that'd be a cool logo. Yeah. And then like the craziest thing was, as soon as I said like, I was like, oh, that'd be a cool name immediately. And maybe it's just my subconscious working. But I had started seeing pineapples like everywhere.
Oh, really?
Like it's like a thing now. And I'm like, what on earth is going on? Like,
Yeah.
why are there so many, like, girls love pineapples? They're like, oh, it's stand tall and be sweet on the inside.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just wanted this as like an emblem, and now they're like everywhere. I'm like, that's not unique anymore.
Yeah, everyone's
As soon as I thought about it, I was like, oh, that'd be really cool. Maybe it was just because I was like, all right, dialing into looking for pineapples instinctually, and then I realized how many there were.
There's a lot of things like that where you don't. It's like things like there's a band called Punchline. I think they have a song called 37 Everywhere, and it's like our 37. It's a theory that the number 37 is literally like you'll see it 30 times in the day, or
that's crazy,
or like something like something you notice every day, like it's just things like that. Once you're aware to it, now you're seeing it. So now for you, it's pineapples instead of number 37.
So, I mean, it's funny because now I don't, like, I still see them, but I don't see them as much.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I guess because I was kind of trying to figure out, like, a logo or design for the brand, and I was hoping to build it into a brand. It was like, I was kind of looking out for it. And I was looking out for not just that, but, like, many other things. I was looking at, like, maybe fish. And I'm like, oh, my God, everybody has a fish or whatever it is. And I'm like, wow, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, all right, these are all already taken. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, like, what do I do now? And how do I make it unique from everybody else? Yeah. So that was my predicament.
Yeah. Now, but you were telling me you. So this is how many episodes are you in right now?
On this, I am on 9, I believe.
That's cool.
I think this is number 9. That's bad. I have to check.
You told me you did one with somebody that worked at Rolex, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't work at Rolex, but he was very knowledgeable on Rolex.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah, my buddy John. He's actually I don't want to give anything away if I'm not supposed to say anything, but he's been doing stuff in watches, and I'm hoping to have him back on.
Oh, cool.
Pretty soon. Me and him knocked out of the park. Yeah. Oh no, this is number 10.
10. Wow.
Number 10. But he'll be back on soon, and he's working on a bunch of a pretty big project right now. I can't really speak about it, and hopefully he'll speak about it.
Is it a spaceship, maybe? Spaceship?
Yeah. He's gonna fly to another planet. Yeah, nobody's gonna know.
Yeah.
He's gonna blow SpaceX out of the water.
Oh, that's fine.
No, he's just working on like a pretty big watch deal. And possibly starting maybe a company or something like that. That was in the works.
That's pretty cool.
But he was super knowledgeable. He told me about this company called Shinola.
Okay.
Shinola watches, and it's made basically the whole story of how it started in Chicago, and they would give jobs to underprivileged kids and then train them with actual watchmakers, and then these kids would build the watch. And the watches actually aren't badly priced. They go like $600-700.
That's not bad at all.
No, especially because a Rolex is minimum price like $9,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And they can go all the way up. So I was like, all right, for $600-700, and they're really, really nice watches. Yeah. They're just simple, clean, like beautiful timepieces.
And they're hand making it. It's got to be a good watch. It's not about like connecting.
Yep. And the coolest part is too, and he was so passionate about the heart of it, where it was coming from the whole story behind it all. Like, all right, we have to clean up, like, I think it was in South Detroit, and we're going to employ these kids, and we're going to teach them, and we're going to give them an opportunity to have a real job and work and make real money, where it's not like they're going to McDonald's making minimum wage or whatever. They're going to work at their shitty job, where there's actual career potential here, and turning that into an opportunity and building that downtown area. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing that's what's happening. Cool. And he just gave me the whole story about it. And now I'm like, I keep looking at the watches, and I'll probably buy one pretty soon.
Now you know more about it. Now you're aware, like pineapples.
Yeah. So and the craziest part is too, like, they're not so distinct that it's like, all right, I could see it from across the room and know, all right, that's a Rolex, or that's an Audemars Piguet, or that's a Grubel Forsey, whatever it is. They're like, they look normal. Yeah. Like they're just really nice watches. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty cool that it's not like
a crappy watch.
Yeah, and if only somebody who knew about the watch would know about it. Nobody on the street is gonna be like, oh my god, that's a Rolex symbol, or oh my god, that's an AP, or whatever it is.
You could hold up your watches as saving kids' lives. Right
now. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that I mean means so much to me.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I'm like, wow, there's so much history behind it.
That's really cool.
So,
Yeah.
and he'll be back on.
That's cool. Do you have any favorite, like with the old podcast or this one? Any favorite episodes you really done?
I think he was my favorite.
That's cool.
He's actually probably my favorite all time.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
He just knocked it to the park, and we've been good friends for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me shoot him a text. Maybe he'll come on the show. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And we just crushed it. I think we did 2 hours.
Damn.
Without even blinking an eye.
That's cool.
I was like, this is I was like, and this is great. And this is one of my favorite shows. I was just so happy to be there.
Yeah, cool.
And I was like, all right, like that's incredible. And I got such positive feedback on it. Mm-hmm. And he's just a great dude. I love spending time with him. So
yeah, I think that's really. I remember you said something about it. I just didn't listen to the show, but I remember you were telling me I gotta check that one out.
But, yeah, it's definitely a good one. Mm-hmm. But I mean, other than that, I've had countless like favorites where it's like this one's my favorite, and then this one's my favorite, and then no I like this one even more, and that goes even with other people's podcasts too, where I'm listening and I'm like, oh, this is a really good show, and then like 3 hours later, 2 hours later, whatever it is, an hour later, 30 minutes later, and I'm like, wow, that was a really, really good episode. And I'm kind of learning to not so much be like, this is my favorite episode, because I can't listen to a podcast more than times.
Yeah.
Once there's got to be a gap in between. It's not like a TV show where it's like, all right, you could just SpongeBob, you could just jump in at any episode. But like I'm learning that I have favorites.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a great one, or he's in a great cycle, or she's in a great cycle right now.
Yeah.
Like even Freakonomics. I don't know if you listen to Freakonomics.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm like, holy shit, they're just crushing it. Like episode after episode after episode, I'm like, they're just on fire. Like all the shows have just been perfect. And then every once in a while they come out with one that I'm like,
not so great.
Yeah, it could have been better. And then I'm like, all right, let's go to the next one. And then, all right, they're back on.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's what you're into at the time. It's like I'll listen to a podcast listen to like a certain podcast over and over again, and then I find another one. I'm like, and then like these guys do this better. I'm gonna listen to this, or take elements you like from another one. But I think that's cool how you are getting like people, like you got someone that like, with this watch company, you're getting people with these unique jobs. You're getting people from your own job. It's a cool idea. You want someone. I think that's another reason I like Rogan's so much is because it's like I'll watch the fight opinions he does where he's like literally watching a fight with his friends. Mm-hmm. I'll watch that, and then the next day could be about a nutritionist. I'll watch that one because I trust what he brings to the table. Not saying all of them are like I'm gonna like every one, but like I'm open to do it, and that's like it's like a trust thing. Like I know this. My favorite thing is when he had Lance Armstrong. That was one of my favorite ones.
I agree with that one, too.
You saw that?
Yep. Oh, my God.
Everyone went like, oh, tear him apart, blah, blah, blah. And he talked for like an hour with him. Just normal, great conversation. And then he asked him, like, well, you told me, well, you did cheat. And then it like opened up. But for an hour, I was like, not even like, people were like in like the chat, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's just like.
Because you watch it.
Yeah. And it's like. For me, it's like, I know, and my opinion was like, I know he cheated. Everyone knows he cheated. Yeah. But you don't want to, you have this guy in your room, you don't want to pick his brain about how like his life was and like how he got to that point, how he had to go to be a cheater, or like how does it feel to get everything that you work for? If you open with that stuff, you wouldn't get anything from him, let alone the answers that you actually want. And I think he gets that, and I think he had some level of respect as an athlete for him. And then even then he's like, by the way, you're a piece of crap, you cheated. But I thought that was cool, and that's the trust thing. Like, I know I'm gonna get a good interview when I watch him.
And if he comes out, of that, I don't mean to cut you off, but if he comes out, if he just starts immediately right at the start of that and just starts chomping into him, he's just gonna clam up and he's just not gonna talk. And then what do you get out of that? Yeah, everybody sees that you just made fun of somebody who cheated. Yeah, and hearing that whole story. Yeah. If you want to talk about it, go for it.
Well, no, he talked about like the whole blood doping and how he how it worked, and it's funny around that time, which is a pure coincidence. Netflix had a documentary about it.
Oh, really?
And they had a documentary about it. He's not once again, he's not the night like he was I'm trying not to curse, but he was a absolute terror to a lot of people, like with like in like all sorts of like sponsorships. He was not a nice guy to a lot of people, and like,
wow.
but besides the fact that he cheated countless times, it's he was not a good, like the best person, but he did, like, you know, like you have to have some respect for him coming back from the cancers he came from. He had lung cancer, brain cancer, like I think it was lung, brain cancer, and testicular cancer all at the same time. But like something like around the same time. I could be spewing out nonsense right now and be wrong about it. But he went through a lot of crap. And basically Rogan kind of like looked at the positives, like what he did, blah, blah, blah. And then when he started, and then I think it was like one thing he said something about a race. He's like, well, you did cheat in that race, and like blah, blah, blah. You're actually, you don't have those wins anymore. Yeah. So I think that like, it was more that podcast was more entertaining to me than when the initial news came out when he cheated and he went on. I think it was like Oprah or Barbara Walters or somebody that said, I want a yes. And I remember I had the interview. So I was like, I want a yes or no answer. Are you a cheater? Yes or no? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, yes. I found Joe Rogan's Our podcast about this man's life. And then towards the end of it, getting into the meat of the cheating, the backstabbing, the money, like the conniving, like money from his foundation, like losing everything. Live Strong, and when I was in high school was like the biggest thing. Yeah. Everyone had
everybody. You were the coolest kid if you can get a hold of one.
Get one, you're awesome. The original ones, not the knockoff ones. Everyone wanted the original ones, but that's one of my favorite podcasts ever. Like I know it's probably 2 years old now, or maybe a year old now, but it's worth going back to listen to. Like for anybody, like not just like I don't watch like, you know, the Tour de France. I don't watch it, but watch that podcast. You'll learn a lot. And halfway through it, you're just waiting. Like you're looking at it, like this guy's the biggest jerk in the world. And then you're watching. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But like the craziest part is too, and in that podcast, and everybody who's listening to this, I hope goes and listens to that.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy because he talks about it in a point of where it was like, you were weird if you didn't.
Exactly.
And at that point, you almost have to look at it like, yeah, you cheated, but like, is it still cheating when everybody's cheating?
Yeah.
Because then it's just the same. You're just right. You're just doing it with a higher caliber of people. You're not. If the first 18, because I think they said the first 18 people actually were cheating.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, they're the first 18, and nobody else after that, I don't know, cheated or didn't cheat. So the 19th guy would have won, I think, if I'm correct.
Something like that, yeah.
But it's like, if all 18 of those people are cheating, are you really cheating?
Yeah, I think it was I'm not sure they brought that up on that podcast, but also I believe the guy that won it after him, or like once he retired, or two guys that won it after him, I don't know much about it, got his medal taken away because he was sleeping in hyperbolic chamber, the ones that like, you know, the chambers that like kind of like you sleep and it raises your red blood cell count. So he got like there's just ways people cheat. Some are more extremes. Lance Armstrong had a whole like operation where like blood bags were brought to hotels on like the nights they were sleeping, and like everybody on his team did it, and it was like
At that point, it's like, who's actually cheating?
Yeah, who's not?
I mean, because if you even want a shot at the first 18 spots, you have to do a little extra.
Yeah.
Because just your body's physically not made to do that. So it's like, what is it considered cheating? Well, it's not technically abiding by the rules, but if everybody's doing it, that's like getting pulled. That's like pulling over one person doing 80 miles an hour on the LIE when everybody's doing it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he's like Lance. He was Lance Armstrong. Like, of course, he was going to be like suspect to like. I forgot what exactly happened. How he got caught with it. I think it's just someone came forward and talked about that whole blood doping.
Yeah.
And it had to do with like money he was taking or something. It was weird, but that's not. I just thought like I don't watch biking, but I think that podcast was fantastic. And it was super interesting to learn about his early life, and then find out what a jerk he was after. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Rogan does a lot of those cool ones. Like because of him, I listen to everything when he talks about like drug testing and like UFC and like all of MMA. Like he talks about a lot about USADA, which is, if you're not familiar with them, they're the people that the world's America's biggest like anti-doping.
Yeah, they basically go around and keep track of every single UFC fighter and make sure that they're not cheating.
Yeah, so
and
it's
they
very
can knock
hard
on your door at any hour of the night, any hour of the day. And basically those people, those players that are getting paid by the UFC have to check in wherever they're going. Hey, I'm going to so and so. Hey, I'm going here. Hey, you can find me here, or I'll be here. And you're on a GPS location basis almost.
Yeah, you have to let them know if you're going to be somewhere that you originally didn't tell them about. But it's very hard to cheat, and not in them. Like, there's people definitely in other like organizations, and there's probably people that are still getting past USADA. But it's very hard because there's people who are getting whether it would be like fact or fiction. There's people that will like get caught and say like, I'm only taking this supplement. And it's like something you get at GNC, and then you test it, and that batch was tainted. You know, USADA is like very thorough. So
you have to be super careful.
UFC, I think last year they said in the year 2016, not counting injuries, not just USADA, main events and co-main events, there was a total of like 60 or 65 cancellations. Co-main events or main events, some to do with USADA, some to do with injury or pullouts. Like,
that's crazy.
Because people were getting John Jones the 2 days before UFC 200.
Pissed hot.
Yeah. They tested positive for an estrogen blocker.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, this is the second time he's tested by USADA. He must have been on his whole career. And he said it was like a Cialis pill that caused it. But that's the typical like Anderson Silva said Cialis. It's like they're more thorough testing. So stuff that you don't like.
And those and fucking up like that cost them a lot of money. Like John Jones was out to win a lot of money that fight. Yeah,
but to me, I'm one of those people that I've been watching for so long. My sympathy for John Jones has been like gone.
Oh yeah, like John Jones aside, but even still, it's just like. It's like that is their livelihood. That is their job. And if you can't go to work because you took Cialis or whatever the fuck you decided to take, and you went to GNC thinking it was a reputable product.
Exactly.
And even if it is a reputable product, and
you could still fail.
You could still fail because it's tainted, because they made a tainted batch on accident.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I don't know if he was trying to get around something. There's like a lot of like, once again, I'm not in that world where I'm like associated with these people, but like there's stories about him hiding from a drug test in April. There's I actually, in that moment, I remember that weekend I had one of my close friends got married, and I was not going to be able to watch the card. But I remember there was a lot of the card kind of fell flat for me, like the build up to UFC 200.
Yeah.
But that was a fight to kind of look forward to, and I thought I actually thought the undercard was like way more interesting, and the rest of the fights, like I kind of knew Amanda Nunes was going to win that. But there was nothing really in like the Brock Lesnar fight. I knew was there's a lot of stuff in that card that was very predictable, and that fight, and I'm actually a Daniel Cormier fan, and I felt terrible for Daniel Cormier because I kind of felt like he was on his way out of fighting. If you're familiar with him, I kind of thought like he lost to John Jones once, his only loss. He's now the champion on his absence, and I think win or lose that fight, I thought Daniel Cormier was probably going to retire, and it was going to be a huge payday for him. So when John Jones tested positive from this USADA violation, I felt I remember like being about to leave for my friend's wedding, and like on my way up, waking up in the morning, seeing on my phone that John Jones was taken out of that fight. I don't know if it's like selfish is not the right word. I didn't think about John Jones. I'm like, oh, my poor Daniel Cormier. This is gonna be like his swan song, win or lose. I thought he was. I could be wrong, but I thought that was a way for him to go out, win or lose. Like, that's it. Like he was a champion.
Yeah,
made
crazy.
the big payday, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's a shame, especially when something like that happens.
Yeah.
Something so simple.
Yeah, he said it was one Cialis pill, a Cialis type pill that a roommate gave, like not a roommate, a teammate gave him, and that caused that. Chad, what's his name? I don't know why his name's escaping me right now, but a fighter just got banned for 2 years for they found something in his hair cream, a head cream. Forgot what fighter it was, but he refused to fight it. So it was like he's gone for 2 years because something.
Chris Cyborg?
Not Chris Cyborg.
Chad Mendes?
Chad Mendes. There he is. Chad Mendes.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. Chad
Oh
Mendes.
my God.
For something to do with I forgot what type of hair cream it was. It's for it's basically something he was always on, and not on, but like once again, it's like people are like, why didn't he fight it? Because it's the amount of money it costs to fight it. So you said, I'll just take 2 years off, and amount of money.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, Cyborg got off. Cyborg, she was it was something to do that she didn't clear it with USADA, but a doctor approved it, and she needed something to deal with like weight cutting because the damage she took from the last weight cut she did. She was cutting from 175, 180 to like 141 for her last fight. So she needed something, and she's suspect before, but I think people were quick to jump on her about this one. Yeah, but Chad Mendez something to do with like cream
for GHRP6, whatever the fuck that
is. It was something in his it's something when you're like hair dandruff, like your skull, like your top of your dry skin on top of your head. It was just something he put in his hair every night, and it was in his system.
Or that's crazy.
Yeah, they're getting people for a lot of stuff, and some people I believe like, oh, that sounds lightly. Yoel Romero got busted for something last year.
I'm trying to find the name of the cream.
Oh, it was something weird. I don't know the brand name, but it was like it just sounded like it sounded like very dorky. Getting like, oh, you got busted for that? That sucks. But people were like, I understand why some fighters who are innocent.
Oh my God, he was using his hair cream to treat plaque psoriasis.
Yeah, plaque psoriasis. That's what it was.
That's fucking crazy. That he's trying to help his skin.
Yeah. But, people could use that as an excuse, but I believe in some people that are like, just the amount of money to fight it. Another fighter was just busted recently. Tom Lawler is out now for 2 years. He can't afford to fight it. So whether if you're cheating or you're not cheating, USADA is going through the UFC, keeping the sport clean as much as they can. But I guarantee you some people are cutting quarters.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be some people that
Damn, plaque psoriasis sucks too, man.
Yeah, yeah. Besides that, like, I don't know if he's more upset about getting banned or talking about how he's got plaque psooriasis to everybody.
Yeah, fucking A, man.
Yeah, it's bad news.
That sucks. That sucks to get busted over something so.
Yeah, he lost to McGregor and then lost to Edgar, and then I forgot if he didn't have a fight, but then I remember seeing that pop up. I'm like, this dude is just career is like, it's not like not even 2 years. I think it's like a year. He'll be back, and he'll be like 30, 33, 34. So that's not bad. He'll still have a couple years to fight. But it stinks. He was kind of on the top of that. He was like ranked number 3. And he was up there. He was up there. Yeah. That's fought McGregor that summer. He was last minute when Aldo pulled out, and he fought. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but Rogan turned me on to like doing all those, like listening, like finding out more about like what's in supplements, what's now. Something I wouldn't always be interested in.
Yeah, you'd never.
Yeah.
I mean, now his show, and now I follow Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yeah.
And I've slowly started to find other people too, where it's like I'm getting into a point where I look at the nutrition facts every single time, regardless of whether or not it's healthy or not.
Yeah.
I'm just like. And a lot of times I don't even buy it, but I just pick it up, I look at it, I'm like, all right, what is this? People are eating this. What are they eating? What are they putting in their bodies? And I'm looking, I'm like, wow, this is pretty fucking bad for you.
Yeah. I stick to like, I do a lot of like, I work out, I do jujitsu, I started doing a lot of like running races. I did the New York City Marathon in November.
Oh wow, nice man.
And I got into the lottery this year by coincidence. So I'm running it upcoming year, and I learned a lot about like same thing, like what is this? What is it? So I kind of stick to, even though those are sometimes suspect, I stick to like plant-based, all natural. Even though I'm not a vegetarian or vegan, I stick to plant-based. If it's sweetened, it's with like stevia, which is a plant. Or I try to stick to that because at least I know this is just vitamins and plant pea proteins, which is just ground up peas, essentially.
Yep.
Like you'll see something that's like all natural, true athlete pre-workout. Like it's completely clean. There's nothing to worry about. You look at it, it's just creatine and like caffeine. Like, sometimes like creatine's not as terrible for people as you think, but it's like too much creatine's bad for you. Apparently. Yeah. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Someone could listen to this. Like, this kid doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, like some people, there's studies that say it's not. Some studies say it's bad. It's good. A lot of that creatine's in also, and a lot of plant-based stuff too. But you gotta read what you're putting in. Like some stuff is just like not good for you.
It's like scary.
Yes.
And I never like, especially now. I'm trying to get into the ketosis diet.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like looking up things, and I'm like, even things that I would figure like are healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit.
It's not good.
And the craziest part is too, and Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks about it all the time, and now it's like common knowledge that sugar is fucking horrible for you.
It's bad. No, it's not good for you.
And I think back, and my mom's a nurse, and I just thought it was so funny because my mom would give me a Snapple every single day from in like middle school and like pretty much like all through high school for the most part. We always have Snapple in our house.
Yeah.
But I only drank it at school. And the other day I picked one up, and I'm like, oh, I was like, I used to drink these like every single day. I was like, they're so good. And I'm looking at the nutrition facts. I'm like, this thing has half the sugar I'm supposed to have in one day in this one bottle. I'm like, holy shit, that is so bad for you.
Your body naturally craves it. Your body wants sugar. It's crazy, and you're like, people get addicted to smoking, drinking. Your body's constantly getting it, and sugar is in everything. So like these high
everything.
So the high levels of sugar, like you drink a Snapple a day, you're gonna want that Snapple the next day because of the sugar.
It's like and my biggest weakness, and I really never try not to ever drink soda. Yeah. But like I love on a ripping hot day, ice cold. I mean, it has to be like just freezing. It has to be freezing or just under freezing where it just hasn't turned into ice yet. Of Coke.
Yeah, it's good. No, that's delicious. I know.
Oh my god. Yeah, and I love it. And I'm like, there is no other drink that compares to that. Yeah. But that is on a super rare occasion. Like I had 2 sodas, in March. Mm-hmm. And those are the first sodas I had of the year.
But really, I'm not a big soda guy at all, and I don't drink either. So when I go out to, I hit the stupid thing. Well, that's I don't drink. I don't drink beer, and I don't drink soda often. So when I go out to a bar, I always ask it, like, I see a bar, they have tap root beer. I love that's like for me. That's my like a beer for me. I'll get like a root beer. Like root beer on tap is delicious, or root beer in general. I love root beer. Root beer is my soda weakness. But if I'm gonna have soda like for dinner, like if I don't buy any. But if I go out to like a restaurant and they have like if I want a Coke, I'll do like Coke Zero, even though other stuff in it, it's terrible for you. Yeah. I Coke Zero is like slowly addicting to me. Like I drink a lot of water during the day, but if like today, like at my job, we went out to like Chipotle for lunch, and it was like Diet Coke or Coke Zero. I'm like, oh, Coke Zero. Yeah. But like,
Chipotle is the nice part about Chipotle is it's fast food, kind of, but it's like healthy fast food.
I was funny as you were talking about like the amount of sugar or sodium. If you want to play a fun game in your life, or don't open the door, do not go into the Chipotle calculator. It's not the calories, it's the sodium. That like I had Chipotle today, and it's like, oh my god, all the sodium's in this. It's way. It's terrifying. It's not saying it's everything's good in moderation. Everything's good.
I've slowly started to get into like I can't have like no beans, no rice. So I'm like, all right, so let me just give me a salad bowl and like. If there's
that's fine. Yes.
Yeah, and then I'm like, all right, I cut out those 2 things, and then I'll get like vegetables, I'll get my meat, and then I'll do like a little bit of cheese, a little bit of sour cream, little guac, and the mild salsa, and I'm like, all right, that can't be that like even with the sodium, that can't be that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but there's definitely a lot of things on there that I look at, and I'm like, that shit's loaded with salt.
Yeah, loaded. It's funny, like there was like a woman on like some podcast I listened to recently. I forgot who I think she has her own YouTube channel. I forgot her name. I feel terrible because I just said some woman on, but no, she was talking about how like the ways like you should look at all burrito bars, and I love like the burrito assembly line. Yeah, is that you got to pick like look at like the cream, the sour cream, the cheese, and like guacamole has like the creams. Pick one cream, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Pick one. I got to pick one. Oh, and like take this out. Like it's to what places. I think that Chipotle just has a lot of sodium to it, but I like it. I'll go there still. It's just like it's just one of those things. It's like just don't open the calculator. Yeah. The nutrition calculator will blow your mind. It's crazy.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. And the craziest part is too, it's like you go to Chipotle and you're like, oh, let me get rice. Let me get extra rice. Yeah. Let me get beans. I want both kinds of beans. I definitely want vegetables. Then I also want double meat. Yeah. And you're like, or what am I paying for? And you're just paying for double meat. Yeah. And then it's like, all right, let me get every topping after that. where it's like,
Yeah.
all right, let me get the corn, let me get the mild, medium, hot.
Yeah.
And I was just there yesterday. That's why it's sticking.
I was
sticking
there
out the back.
today. Yeah, usually we have a good like local spot, like a local Mexican spot.
Okay.
Mexican restaurant spot, and the Chipotle is good. We had a couple gift cards, so one of my coworkers we went.
Yeah.
And I went there today, and that's how come it's like that's why I'm as you are. You just thought about it the other day. I just went on the nutrition calculator today just to look at that, so that's why it's fresh in my head. But it's not really it's not really the fat or it's not really the calories. It's like the saturated fats and the salt in the Chipotle food that you gotta look out for. But I'm not gonna not go there. I will still go there.
Yeah, it's definitely like, but it's funny because it's like, you had Chipotle. It's still better than McDonald's. It's still better than Burger King. It's still better than Wendy's. It's better than a lot of places that you could have.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, you could have a Big Mac or like I forgot what like has more calories than a Big Mac. It's like whoa, like you have a Big Mac, but it's all. I'm a strong believer if you have some kind of diet and if you are active and if you have a healthy lifestyle, you could eat whatever you want and you can't just if you go to Chipotle, don't go to Chipotle for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go to Chipotle this day. If you're gonna have a Big Mac, don't have a Big Mac for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You can eat whatever you want. A lot of those people that do those like food reviews are not like in. There's a lot of guys that are in great shape. I'm pretty sure like if you watch someone do a food review on a Big Mac, they're not having a Big Mac. Like later on, they're probably like dieting throughout the week to have this one giant meal.
Yeah.
But no, it's just don't tempt fate. Do not look at the nutrition calculator. It'll ruin your life.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That makes me nervous.
I was like, 800 calories not bad. That's double the amount of sodium I'm supposed to have today. Oh my god.
What was it in?
Oh my god, I don't even want to say on recording. I can't say.
No, just
it was on Chipotle. It was Chipotle.
Was it the guacamole?
Oh no! The guacamole had a lot of saturated fat, but it's good fats.
Yeah.
But it was just it's in like the salsas surprisingly have a lot of salt to them.
Really?
I did sofritas for some reason, even though it's vegetarian, it has the most salt out of any of the proteins you could get.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, apparently the steak has the less fat and less salt.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So it's not really steak and chicken to kind of outweigh themselves. Apparently, that's all. So you could pick any ones you want there. Anybody.
All right, so that's not so bad.
Yeah,
that's not so bad. I try to go with like the mild salsa or like the medium, and
their hot one's underrated. I think that their hot salsa is pretty
good. Really good. It's good in. I'm not a spicy person.
Yeah,
like
I'm the worst. I love. Spicy
oh my god,
food.
some of the people I know, they'll just fucking eat like. They'll eat stuff that'll make me cry for a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just a drop and I'll die, and they're like fucking loading up. Like Frank's Red Hot is the perfect amount of hot.
Yeah,
just a little bit
wing
of it.
Sauce. Yeah,
yeah, just a little bit of it. It's got enough heat.
Yeah,
good to go. So,
I walked into. I was on. I told you I was on vacation last week when we were going to schedule this last week, and we were in San Francisco, and they have one of those like tourist trap hot sauce stores. But I go there every time. And every time in San Francisco, they have some rare stuff, so I kind of look around in there. And the guy, every time I'm going, the guy's like, you can't, like, you're not trying the hot stuff because you can't take the heat. So I did the one that you have to sign the waiver for. And I told him I think it was the same guy both times I was there. I said to him, like, I could take the heat, but sometimes I want flavor. Like, just because I could take the hottest stuff in the world, I want a hot sauce that's going to taste good.
Yeah.
Like, I could, like, if there's something like the hottest sauce you can give me that you have, I'll eat it. I'll put it on stuff if it tastes good, but if it doesn't taste good, like why am I having it? Yeah. I'm very good at heat. I could have the hottest sauce at any restaurant, but I would probably choose like if I got 10 thing of wings, I'll choose like 10 of the hottest to try their hottest, and then I'm gonna want the one that like tastes the best, like whatever you like. Like
I just went to the Great Beer Expo in the Belmont racetrack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there was a company there, and it was so funny because there's whatever 50, 60 beer companies there, and then there's two companies. There was Benito's hot sauce.
Okay.
And they make. I had a couple of their stuff, and it was like a lot of it was just really good flavor, just great. And they had one thing that blew me out of the world, and it was Chipotle pepper infused maple syrup.
That's amazing. I've had pepper maple syrup before. It's delicious. Underrated.
Oh my god!
Put it on pancakes, you wouldn't know like what's going on. It's amazing.
Oh my god! Yeah. And then next to it, they had there was another company from Jersey called Bang Cookie.
Okay.
BANG Cookie, and they made the best. And the cookies, a little bit bigger than my fist.
Yeah,
and it's thick. It's like an inch and a half thick, and like you pull it apart, and it just looks perfect. Like it's cooked, but just barely cooked. It just hit that point of cooked, and you pull it apart, it's fucking amazing. And then
delicious.
My girlfriend was like, I was like, you know what? Let's take the maple syrup that I bought and put a couple drops on there, and it was like out of this world.
You should go to them. You guys should join up.
I want to send them an email and just be like, hey, I did this, and you guys are doing it wrong. Yeah, you both are. Even though both your products are clearly superior to anybody else's I've ever had, you guys should combine them.
Make all the money with that.
And just kick me back a little bit.
Yeah, just for your idea.
For my
You're
idea.
the one that tried it. You could have gotten hurt during that process.
I could have. I could have died.
You could have died. Yeah, it was too hot. The cookie was undercooked. You don't know.
But Chipotle infused maple syrup.
I went.
God damn.
Do you know that show Hot Ones on YouTube? It's the show.
I love that show.
I've been to that place before in Brooklyn where you could like all the hot sauces they have. It's really good.
Oh, so it's in a hot sauce studio?
No, not the. I'm not sure where they film, but if you look at the site, he always says that the hot sauce they make, it's through this company out east and sold by this place. Mm-hmm. I went to the place that he gets his hot sauce from the show.
Okay.
And it's funny. There's a lot of good hot sauces, and like I'll go through the thing. Like if I pass by it, I'll go through. I won't make a trip to go to it, but you take a thing, you try it with like this tube, and you find like a really nice, like organic, beautiful hot sauce, and like you looked all day, you were in the store for like 30 minutes, and you found the hot sauce you like, and then like I remember I picked it out, and then like later on that week was like the Super Bowl, and my friend like went to the supermarket and got like Yingling wing sauce. Like, this is better. Like, it's like it's like one of those, not better, but like, wow, I just got this at my store. I think that's what I like about hot sauce, though. You can find like one that's like super, like that's a lot of food, but like super, like this is made from the hills of California and blah, blah, blah. Yep. And then like this is just as good, though. Like, some hot sauces are like that.
I just got it's funny because I'm kind of like that with spices. I'm always looking for new spices.
Exactly.
And I just got this can, and I was like, fuck it. I haven't seen this can before. I'm just going to try this can. And it's, whatever, it's probably like an 8-ounce can of Chipotle seasoning, and it's a rub, too. And I looked at the ingredients. I didn't realize how much salt was in it. So I made pork this week, and the pork is a little saltier than I like. Yeah. But whatever. It's still, the flavor is fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
It's just salty. And, but I'm like, all right, if I'm going to try this, I really want to go. I just want to dump this stuff on there. And I just dumped it on like a pork shoulder and just threw it in the slow cooker.
Rub, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then right at the end, I just threw in a bit of cream and just kind of like let it sit there for 15 minutes and just kind of soak in. And it came out perfect.
Yeah.
And, but I'm just like, wow, this is like, for something I just picked up randomly, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
Chipotle, like dry rub.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Like, good to know. And now I have a whole can of it because I bought like the bigger can of it for my house.
Yeah. That you kind of find things randomly. Like, I didn't want to I've discovered that hot sauce, that Yingling hot sauce, just because I didn't want to like I was selfish and didn't want to share my new hot sauce that I want to save for like my lunches or dinners. Yeah. And it was really good, but it was funny that like it was just some random hot sauce. Like, this is delicious.
Yeah.
It was like a wing sauce, but once again, not the hottest sauce in the world.
Yep.
It was a nice wing sauce, and that I feel like I could have the hottest sauce, but not necessarily like it doesn't necessarily make things taste good. It's more of like, I could eat the hottest sauce in the world.
Oh God.
Blah blah. But I think wing sauce is the way to go, though. Wing sauce is probably the best sauce for hot sauces.
I agree. I agree. The nice part is too, it's when you get like because Frank's Red Hot, you get a big bottle of it.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, oh my God, I only have this much left. And
exactly.
And if it's not that hot, I like to add a lot more.
Exactly.
So I'm like, all right, and then one sitting, you're halfway through a bottle, and you're like, God damn, I just like the Tabasco. Smoked
the smoked
and that stuff is fantastic.
The smoked Chipotle one.
Yeah, but I go through like a half a bottle in per plate. I'm like, well, it's great, but I wish I just got more.
You gotta break that
because by the time you go to the supermarket or whatever, and you could buy the full bottle for like $9, but that'll last you 4 meals.
Yeah.
Or you could buy like the little bottle for like $6.
Yeah.
And all right, that's 2 meals. Great.
It's okay to take it from Chipotle. They don't care. Apparently, you know that, right?
Really?
If you're going home and you have like multiple meals, like you
Yeah.
get like 2 meals, you could take it. Like one time I did, like I used to grab the napkin.
I do take those.
I do this thing where I keep the bag in front of it and I kind of bring it down, and as I'm packing the napkins, I'll pull the top of the bag over and I grab it with one hand, so it's not in the bag, but I'm holding it between the paper. I know, and I walk, and then like a woman saw me put it in the bag once, and she's like, "You're allowed to take it." Like,
oh, that's awesome. I didn't know.
But there's some workers that probably wouldn't know you're allowed to take it, but the manager's like, "Yeah, sure, go take it."
The like that when I come from there to here, there's a couple times where I'm like, I have 5 meals. Like, I'll just take the half full bottle. I'm gonna have half of it, probably that half, or I'll do like a quarter of it and share the rest around. I'm like, there's no point in me sitting there shaking that little bottle upside down to try to fill up one of those little plastic cups.
Yeah, it's to save inventory. I think they don't want to I think they should have a dispenser. Honestly, that's probably more of a mess. But like, if you want customers to share it in the cups, you got to have an easier way of getting the sauce out, because it has
got to turn it upside down.
It's got that stopper. And you got to shake. It's probably not. And probably meant for you not to waste it all.
Yeah.
But if you're okay to take them, how come just not get like a tobacco dispenser of like the 3 of them, and then like press down? Like, no,
that'd be cool to just press down,
or like pull something like that. Like, they probably don't want to mess, but like, you gotta, like, when I get those home, I kind of break the top because it's easier to kind of
pour on your stuff. Yeah, I do like the little stopper nozzle though when you're doing your own, and I don't pour too much, because there has been a couple times where I was like,
you burnt,
I went a little too much, and I'm like,
yeah.
And then by the time you're done, you're like sweating a little bit.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm lucky with heat though. I could take a lot of heat with food. So. Like, sriracha has replaced ketchup at my house. Like, sriracha is like what I put on, like, literally everything.
I could do sriracha, but I can't do too much.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with it.
Or like some people I know, just one of the guys here, he'll just do rice. He'll do a spoon of rice and just soak it.
Okay, that might be too much.
I'm like, holy, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. How the fuck do you get that much sriracha on a spoon? Like, do you even taste anything else that you're eating?
It's not like peanut butter where you're just going like this.
Yeah.
It might ruin what you gotta want to enhance the flavor, not ruin the flavor.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Enhancement is hot sauce is enhancement sauce, not the meal itself.
That's so funny. We're at 1 hour and 21 minutes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Right? I looked at it in an hour and I was like, holy shit,
crap.
we fucking
that flew fast.
Should we end it here? You want to go for like another 10, 15 minutes?
I'm down for whatever you do. I got one work email. It seems not so serious. No, I could, if you want to stick around longer, I could do that.
Yeah, dude, we'll back in another 15, 20 minutes.
Getting a bunch of weird emails.
Oh, emails are the worst.
Yeah, I got like this weird, I don't know why I deleted that. No.
Go save it.
They gotta save this real quick. Oh no.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I got a billion and one text messages now. But no, what I wanted to ask you was, is there anything in particular that you want to bring up?
No, not really. I just kind of wanted to just, like, when we crossed paths, we're like, oh, let's do a show. Like, nothing really in particular. I guess when I'm pretty sure we'll probably be in contact after this, when the podcast is up and running.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll do a plug on mine, you do a plug on yours. It'll be fun.
That. I appreciate that. Hey, if you ever need a guest.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on down. It'd be great. It'd be nothing really crazy. I felt like the past couple of days of work, I've been in like a giant room where like I had YouTube to watch like some podcasts or iTunes, but I really haven't heard much that was going on in the world. I don't know what to really talk about.
I don't really know. The one thing I did want to ask you though, because you work with Sailaway, is what point did you get in with them? Okay,
so basically,
for anybody who doesn't know, Sailaway is do they only do cold brew?
They don't only do cold brew. They do have, you get 3 roasts from them, I believe, year round. Two of them go out pretty fast, so they got to reorder it. Not reorder, it's the wrong word for it. They have to basically it's their main blend is the Captain's Blend. I believe that blend is it's roasted it's a dark roast, and then they have a Colombian and an Ethiopian. The Ethiopian one goes very fast because it's special. It's a specialty one, and they have a private roaster. And so I was doing for them at their farmer markets when they first started out, when they only had one blend and their cold brew. I had, I'm not a certified roaster, but I'm allowed to, certified is the wrong way. I have home roasting units, and I'm certified to use those, but I'm not a trained one on a giant machine like as you see, like a Giorgio's got the ProBat. I picture that, like I roast on a machine like Wayne Selinsky like shrunk it, you know.
Oh
so,
wow. Okay.
So I have a home roaster, but he has.
And you roast your own coffee at home?
At home, I use not as much anymore because it's kind of time consuming. But I have two machines that I kind of modified to be more customized, so I could have that feel of a real roasted machine. I studied it. But I haven't had haven't went to school for it. I haven't went to been trained. I haven't apprenticed anyone because I have my normal job. But when they were getting off the ground, he was like, I want to do some small batch stuff with my product. And that I want my main roaster to focus on this, and kind of gave me the platform to kind of if you feel like you're good at this, just come to our kitchen and you could roast.
Where are they located?
This is when they were located. I believe they're both facilities. They're at a new facility now, but their first kitchen was in Huntington, I believe. Okay. I think I'm not sure if they still have that first one too, but they have another facility, I believe, in Huntington as well. They have a bigger warehouse now. They have a big space. They are growing.
Awesome.
And they're as you can see, they're going everywhere.
They're
but
huge now.
The owner. So to answer your question, that was to kind of explain how I got involved with the coffee side of it. Mm-hmm. And basically, I saw my friend Chris, who's the owner, who I've known from playing in bands from years. Yeah. Was posting about cold brew and posting about coffee. And I don't want to use the word coffee snob, but I'm huge into it. I have my own home roasting coffee. I'm a coffee jerk. And I'm like, this is great. Try some of my stuff. And he came over to my house and he's like, hey, if you want the platform, as long as I'm not treading on anything legally, meaning nothing like you could legally do it. It has to be done in a kitchen. Like it has to be done in a certified kitchen, which he had. Yeah. I could do it. Yeah. And it's like, that's with anything, if you got a license. So he's the license to do it. So I did 16 ounces and I just did maybe 8-ounce bags of these little roasts. So to go with when you went to farmers markets, I was at the platform to show some of my small roasting. And cool. So when they first started, it was Chris and a couple other people. And I was one of the people that did the farmers markets with him. Oh, and so cool. He sent me out to Kings Park, and then I did a couple of Jones Beach shows. And it was, at the time, it was a 2-man operation. It was Chris and I believe one other person. And then they hired a couple of people to do farmers markets in Jones Beach, and that's how they kind of got the staff. And now they have a whole production team, a couple ex-musicians, a couple of people that are just good in the business of shipping and this way you build a business, people you want to work with. And they're huge now. I recently worked with them on their Valentine's Day batch where I kind of where he asked for some suggestions, what would you want to do? So it's kind of I want to say I work with them occasionally, but I worked when they first at their bare bones beginnings. I was there all the time doing helping them do their bottling at their facility. And then when he asked me, I'm doing a farmer's market and in Brooklyn, I want to add some small batch. Can you, if I get green beans, can you do 5 pounds of small batch? So 5 pounds divided up in 8 ounce bags. Yeah. And as long, it's that's not something that falls on the lines of doing a giant blend that's going out the stores. It's farmers markets where they, people bake pies and put it out. So it's I'm basically roasting coffee in their kitchen, but it got recepted pretty well. So maybe one day if I want to go to school to, be a roaster, I will, or apprentice under somebody, or
that's pretty cool.
If I had the time, I would do it. But yeah, I started out with them at their farmers market stage. It was more doing their farmers markets. And then I recently helped them out tailor making their little Valentine's Day blend. And I did 2 nights there at their kitchen and facility. I did a couple small batch blends, but they have their own big private roaster that does their big stuff. But at their facility is where they do all their cold brew, and they are the hardest working group of young men and women there, and they deserve everything they're getting. They're everywhere, and
that's crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised in a couple years to see them
nationally.
Oh, dude, they The fact that I see some brands in some places, I won't use any names because I don't know how this will get back to me or not.
Yeah.
But I'll see certain brands and I go like, okay, I've seen these people at markets before, and I happen to think like, you know, like it's not a competition at all. But I feel that like smaller brands that have grown, and I feel like if their company could grow with the way their owner Chris operates and Ryan, who one of the guys there operate, there's no stopping them. Like they're just such a good hard workers, and they know what they're doing, and it's not just a couple guys that I want to make a coffee company. Like no, like that blend that you taste every day. Chris, legitimately, the owner Chris, like sent back 10 times. Like I want you to roast it this way to this, like their roaster.
Yeah.
And I believe, I'm not sure if he's in their facility, but like they have their guy that roasts their coffee. But like he tailor made that and he's with the same. It's the same blend since they started 2 years ago. Nothing changed, just locations and they've
only been around for 2 years.
Only 2 years, and the only thing that's different from the day one they started was how they finally were able, after getting a lot of money, they got a beautiful big tank, like a big a big brewer, like a coffee brewer.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that's changed, and the flavor is the same one they tried. They're just a bunch of hard workers. But
that's incredible.
Yeah, but I did their farmers markets and a couple of small batch things.
Now what? Because I don't think anybody that I know knows what goes into the process of roasting coffee and that whole.
Yeah, but roasting coffee, I wish I knew more about. I've only done small batches, but what I learned
Even
about,
in small batches,
how
does that work?
I have two coffee roasting machines that basically they're picture like a barrel rotating, like a pig rotating. Mm-hmm. Basically with coffee, the easiest way to do it, if you want to start coffee roasting, what I suggest is to get a popcorn popper. It sounds weird. Get a popcorn popper with a flat bottom. And basically coffee needs heat and it needs to just keep on spinning, keep on rotating. And the flavors you get, it depends on everything you do. It depends how fast it's spinning, depends how hot it is, how soon it pops. Like there's two cracks. So basically if I do my normal batch of coffee I'm roasting, if I want like a medium dark, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a city or full city. That's like coffee terms, but I'll pour the green beans in and you let it go. And then you could see the color. It starts to get darker, but it's a little light. And then you'll start hearing a crack. That's called first crack. And first crack means that you're leaving the light roast and you're going into the medium roast. And then when you hear like and then you're going to hear a deeper crack, maybe about 3 minutes, depending on how hot you're roasting.
Yeah.
That's going into your darker roast. That's the easiest way to do it. And basically the way I learned how to roast coffee was through a popcorn popper, where I took like very small amount of coffee and I just took a wooden spoon and I stirred it, make sure you're getting everything going. And then I learned, okay, first crack, that means I'm looking at it, and it roasts a lot faster in a popcorn popper because it's so condensed and such a small amount of coffee.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned. I just learned the first crack, boom. Okay, first crack, I'll wait a minute, and then that'll be a nice medium roast, and I'll pull it off. But if I want a light roast, I've got to get the time right before I know first crack's going to hit. So if you ever see me roasting, I have a timer on my phone, got like a timer up here when the first crack, and I have my laptop out. So
it's super technical.
That when I did some small batch stuff for Sail Away at the beginning, I really didn't. Even though it got recepted very well, people were like, "Oh, that like I think I did." I've only did. It's funny, like everyone thinks like not thinks that like they know I'm associated with them and I work with them because I do help them out, like more like a freelance stuff when they need me, I do it, and I'm best friends with everyone there. But if they want to do something special, it's more I appreciate the work that they give me because it kind of gives me the platform to learn. But when I first started, I did a Honduras and an Ethiopian.
Oh wow!
And the Honduras I did light, that other one I did dark, and I was impressed now that I did what I did then, because now I just kind of just like let it go and like, okay, pull it out now. Now the Valentine's Day one I did with them was like, okay, I'm going to pull it out at 15 minutes exactly no matter what. And the color's not right. I'm going to just use this as a sample, and I'll just say, you use this for samples, or you use this for like something else. I don't want this to go out. Like that was only a year and a half difference because I got my methods better, but it's more of like a freelance thing really with them. But yeah, if you want to learn to roast coffee, videos on YouTube will show you how to roast it out of a popcorn popper. It won't be even, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
But it's more of a hobby of mine than
That's
anything.
great.
But
What does like a small tabletop unit for like your house go for?
$500, a good
Jesus.
one, 500. Like you could get actually, I'm wrong. You could get one for like $100, but it's good, but that's more of you get a very small amount. With the ones I have in my house, it goes up to a pound. So I can roast a pound of coffee at once.
So it's still not even that much coffee.
Yeah, still exactly. And when you roast the pound of coffee,
Yeah.
there's shrinkage in the beans. So when I weigh a pound, it doesn't do a pound of roasted coffee. It does a pound of green beans. If that makes any sense. When you roast, it
absolutely.
shrinks.
Yeah, because you're pulling off the moisture inside the bean.
Yeah,
and
so
stuff
you
like that.
lose ounces when you do that.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but the sail away guys, their operation is they do have roasted coffee, and their roaster is incredible, and does a lot of cool things, and I think that blend is so and it's funny, I'm not a big into super dark roast, but their dark roast is so it's just the origins of the beans and the tailor-made blend that Chris came up with, and like it's not just somebody going like, it's not a coffee company going like, I want to make a cold brew and it's just going to be a dark roast and do it. It's like, no, it tasted good hot, it tastes good cold, and for a company that hasn't been around long, they're doing pretty well. And there's a lot of other great coffee. Like that's just a brand line. Like some of the best shops on Long Island is becoming a very good coffee hub. There's South down in Huntington, which I go there every weekend with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend goes there every day for work. Giorgio's has been here for years. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's also he's in a bunch of stores. You got places all around Long Island that are just amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man.
Well, I went a little long. Sorry, you probably edited some of that.
No. We're actually at 135, where I was like, all right, cool. So how do people find you? How do they hear about you? How do they get involved? I mean, now that they know about Sail Away and how they can try some of your smaller blends.
My friends at Sail Away, if you see any of their stuff, give it a shot. They have unsweetened and they have sweetened. Cold brews everywhere. You could probably find some roast. Just go to their website, sailawaycoffee.com or sailawayco.com. Just Google it. It'll come up. They have a nice little map where you could buy, where you could see where you could buy everything, or you could buy stuff from their website.
Oh, you can buy right online.
Online, yeah.
Awesome.
If you want to find me personally, my SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Pasini and Friends.
Spell out Pasini, because I know.
Pasini.
All right,
my
cool.
Instagram and Twitter is 8Pasini. You can watch weird drone videos on my Instagram. But nothing really to plug right now. But thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun. I hope to come back. This is cool.
No, dude, I'm definitely looking forward to having you on, and I learned quite a bit about a lot of things.
Yeah,
and
as did I about the hack, which I had no idea about.
Yeah, be careful if you have. You have an iPhone. Make sure
I got some weird emails. I gotta check out.
Back that bad boy up before over the next 3 days. But all right, cool, man. We'll wrap this up. Till next time, guys. As of right now, I have another show tomorrow, so you get another show tomorrow.
Oh, great.
I fucked up last week. I thought I was gonna have 3 shows last week. Got into I totaled my car, so.
Oh no.
Yeah, fuck that bad boy. I'll show you the photos. I fucked up that car pretty good. Hit a $150,000 Benz.
Jeez, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a little fender bender. His car was actually not bad, but my car was pretty fucked up.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So I had to bail on one last week. We're going to be rescheduling. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, motherfuckers.
Peace.